Alice Howland is the Lillian Young Professor of Linguistics at Columbia University. She famously wrote her seminal textbook, From Neurons to Nouns, while raising 3 children.
To the most beautiful and the most intelligent woman I've known in my entire life.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Alonzo, Matt, Christy, Ben, we're all here. Still Alice is getting its Oscar qualifying run this week in Los Angeles and New York before opening broader in 2015. Julianne Moore has been getting a lot of awards buzz ever since the film premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. I'm not giving a number on this one because I have known co-director Richard Glatzer for about 20 years. I will talk about the film, but not give it a rating because that would be weird. But Christy's going to describe it to you.
Right, Richard Glatzer and Wash Westmoreland, who also did Quinceañera, which also was a popular little film. So Julianne Moore stars as Dr. Alice Howland, this brilliant and esteemed and beautiful and accomplished linguistics professor at Columbia University. She just turned 50. She has this great family, great home, great life. And slowly, little things start eluding her. Words, or she gets lost during a run, or she can't find her phone, or whatever it is. And it turns out that she has early-onset Alzheimer's, and it's how she and her family respond to it. Take a look.
Thank you so much. But I hope to convince you that by observing these baby steps into
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just exhausted. I started forgetting things, little annoying things like words and names. And I got lost, completely lost, running on campus. Can anyone tell me what it says in the syllabus for today?
You have sporadic memory impairment, totally out of proportion to your age. And there is evidence of decline in your level of mental function.
What's going on?
I have Alzheimer's disease.
It is rare, but it has been confirmed.
I wish I had cancer.
Don't say that.
I mean, I wouldn't feel so ashamed.
This is tough. This is tricky because I don't think this is a very good movie. It's not a very good movie. It's not very well made. It feels like a made-for-TV movie to me in terms of just production values and just the beats it hits. The lighting is very flat. It's a lot of medium shots. It's just not a very well-made film, but like the message is so important and it will connect with so many people and it will help so many people and she is so great in it. I feel really torn about this movie.
It's a terrific performance, definitely, and I think it's tricky to do a movie on this subject matter without feeling like a TV movie because that's where these kinds of stories have been relegated for so long. And obviously this is on the heels of Amour and Away from Her, which kind of approached the same thing. But Julianne Moore, I think, finds a lot of really interesting notes in all of this to kind of the slow, very slow degradation of this woman's psyche. And the fact that the character is herself an expert in what's happening to her, in the cognitive process of the mind and how people process language, makes it interesting. Like at first you think it's too on the nose, but actually it makes her a more interesting tour guide through this whole thing.
Because she understands what's going on with her so well.
And there's a scene from her neurologist who says, sometimes with really intelligent, really clever people, they've come up with kind of shortcuts and crutches to get past the symptoms. And so what seems like you miss the progression because all of a sudden they get to where they can't do those anymore. So you have this plateau or almost this cliff that you fall down in functionality that they kind of predict is coming. And then when you see that, it is really harrowing. I found this movie to be kind of terrifying. There's a lot of stuff that I think she goes through, and I think it helps that Julianne Moore plays it small in this. This isn't somebody who's constantly in a panic because they don't know where they are. Like you see that this is a woman whose personality is based on, if not being in control, like figuring life out. And she's smart and she's clever. So when there's a scene where she's lost, like I think in another movie you'd see a panic and you'd see somebody screaming and yelling. And you see that kind of quiet
fear,
right? There's the scene in the beach house where it becomes very dramatic that she can't find the bathroom. And her embarrassment about that, I think the movie conveys that. And I get what you're saying about production values not being great. It didn't matter to me.
Yeah, it didn't matter. I think you're being too tough on it.
Yeah.
I'm cold and soulless.
Because I think to what Matt is saying, that they're, well, you're definitely cold and soulless.
We knew that.
Right, that's sort of that's the
Take
bar.
that as read.
Yeah, but I think what Matt said is interesting because she does play it small, and so then there are two moments separate from like the bathroom scene or the running scene which are dramatic moments as you see her sort of deal with this, not so much with some early on panic because she doesn't know what it is, and then later just real sadness that I've reached this point. But there are two scenes where she loses it and gets incredibly angry. And I thought both of those, because she was so restrained at other times, when she screams,
it counts more.
Right, you were like, I was like, oh Jesus, she's screaming! Somebody help her, please! Somebody help her, or do any, when you, and both of those scenes are with Alec Baldwin, who plays her husband. And what's interesting is, in a role like this for Baldwin, who I think is such a sensational actor, but I'm so used to him. I'm like, the whole movie for so long, I'm like, got to be having an affair.
How can he not?
Alec Baldwin is playing the 56-year-old husband. Of course he's having, and he's always, he works.
He's always at work.
He's like, oh, I got to go to a meeting, and the whole time you're waiting, when's the other shoe going to drop? And then it turns out he's just going to a meeting.
And it's best not to think about the two of them on 30 Rock also.
That's right.
I couldn't help but think of that. Yeah.
They had great chemistry on 30 Rock.
I think another cool thing about this, and Glatzer and Westmoreland wrote this, is based on a novel. Alice is not this, perfect angel victim in the movie. She'll use the situation to her advantage. She'll decide to go to Pinkberry to get out of going to a dinner party and be like, oh, I forgot,
Which she didn't forget.
Or yeah, exactly. Or she'll try to use the fact that this is happening to her to try and manipulate her daughter, played by Kristen Stewart, who's really good in this.
She's really good.
To go to college is sort of a final wish, and she knowing exactly what she's doing.
And that's really the most important relationship in the movie, not the Baldwin Julianne Moore relationship, but the Julianne Moore Kristen Stewart relationship. Her youngest, she has 3 kids. Kristen Stewart plays her youngest daughter, and the one, not really a rebel, but the other one's a doctor,
one's a lawyer,
and is married well, and then the one has gone off to California and not gone to college to be an actor. And she's a great kid, but that's what she wanted to do. And Julianne Moore has had this intense success in life, cannot fathom that her youngest would not go, and she totally manipulates it. I mean, it's a great point you make, because she's not, there are moments when she's a shitty mother to Kristen Stewart.
Absolutely.
Judgy. I mean, judgy at the point and continues on it in 2 terrible parent reasons. One, you're wrong on the facts, support your kid, who's clearly a good kid, making a decision which you might not love, but she's not strung out on, she's not Cheryl Strayed. She's not strung out on heroin. She's trying to be an actress. She might be really good at it. And then also, not recognizing when you're beat. It's one thing to wish your kid would go to college, but
you keep bringing it up. You're not keep bringing it up.
You're losing. You're losing. This is just, it's foolish on every level.
And yet the way that
but believable.
The way that both daughters respond to the illness is so surprising, because the Kate Bosworth character is perfect and perfectly coiffed at all times, and she's a lawyer, and you think that she might step up and be awesome at this. And Kristen Stewart's actually the one who is more emotionally attuned to what her mother needs.
Yeah.
It's surprising.
One of the things I was glad that this movie did not do is that you see a lot of movies where somebody's got some terminal disease, where some other people will be dicks around them for whatever reason, and the person with the disease suddenly becomes this angelic figure.
Yeah.
This movie never does that, right?
That's right.
To your point, Ben, Julianne Moore's character in this movie, Alice can be shitty, and everybody around her, it kind of does step up that you would hope that your family would do.
Yeah.
They all have their problems. They all still try and get on with their lives. Alec Baldwin is still trying to balance his life and his opportunity and what's going to be best for him in the long run versus what's going on with her. I felt like that was all really kind of grounded and real, and I found this to be really moving. Again, from a technical standpoint, I think the movie does drop the ball in a few places. It's not shot particularly well, and you're right, this could have been done on TV, on a TV budget, but the story still mostly worked for me.
Terrible title. I mean, a title that I think influences the way we're thinking that it could be on TV. It's Still Alice. I mean, Still Alice sounds Lifetime, 1992.
And I'm not sure that necessarily the title necessarily
it's not even the right title. It's not even.
I'm not even sure that it's accurate.
But one last thing I will give this movie that I think you wouldn't find in a TV movie is there's a whole subplot about Alice pre-planning her suicide. That she gives herself this sort of daily test. She videotapes instructions to herself for when she's going to need them later. It resolves in a way that, my mentioning this is not a spoiler. I'll just say that, but it resolves in a way that is unpredictable. And I thought, wow, this is a thing that a lot of people would think about and how they would respond in this situation. And this movie doesn't pussyfoot around it. It's not like those movies about where abortion gets mentioned for 2 seconds and like, oh, we can't talk about it anymore. They go to a dark place and they stay there for a while and consider the ramifications and the mechanics and all that stuff.
There is no pussy.
And actually, the way that even plays out is almost darkly funny.
Yes.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, there's surprises within how that manifests itself. We should mention also, because he is your friend. Your friend was diagnosed with ALS before this film was made.
Yes, I think he responds in a lot of ways to the idea of that notion of being trapped inside of your body, of not being able to have that independence, and of suddenly having to rely on other people, and not being able to be as expressive as you want to be. And I think that comes out in the film, and I think his perspective really adds a lot to what's going on here.
Right, it clearly resonated with him, with them. They've been together for a long time.
They have, yes. They did Quinceañera. They did the Kevin Kline, the Errol Flynn movie that came out this year. They're longtime collaborators and partners, and this is, I think, going to be a big thing for them.
I think it will be an awards thing for Julianne Moore. So let's do numbers, please.
I gave it a 7.6. I feel like I'm maybe even, if anything, low. I liked it. I think it's good. It moves quickly for a movie that is not something you would anticipate moving quickly.
Matt.
Yeah, I give it an 8. Yeah. I think it's, if nothing else.
Good score, Matt. Good score. Yeah.
I'm not going to get applause for my score. All right, I'll round it up to a 7. I'm going to say 7 because she's really great in it, and I think it matters, and it will be very helpful to a lot of people who are going through this, and that maybe is the most important thing of all. So our number is a 7.6.
That's right.
Yeah, it's in the high 80s on the tomato meter right now.
All right, so